Visa is exploring new vistas in India. The global payments giant is bullish about credit growth in the country. Also, with the growing number of billionaires in India and new names being added to global rich lists every year, plus the massively increasing remittances from wealthy individuals abroad back home, the company counts India as a key market. But that's not all Visa is doing. It has the proliferation of digital payments firmly in its sights. Also in focus is the steep rise of the small and medium enterprises and the rise of the woman customer, a sign of their increasing financial independence, personal wealth, and investment acumen. In the ET World Leaders Forum held last weekend, my co-host and ET's associate editor Arijit Barman discussed all that I just said and much more with Kelly MahonTullier, Vice Chair at Visa. That very interesting conversation is the special episode for today. Listen on. It's Tuesday, the 3rd of September. From the Economic Times, I'm Anirban Chaudhary. This is the Morning Brief.
Kelly, we'll go straight away into understanding. I believe you had a very interesting session just before coming to New Delhi. You were in Mumbai. I thought you would be at the Global FinTech Summit, but instead you were meeting very interesting women entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much, Arijit. Yes, I landed earlier this week in Mumbai, where our offices are. We also have offices in Bangalore, where we have our tech center and around 4,000 people. And we also have offices in Mumbai. So I had the honor of landing there. No, I did not get to go to the FinTech Summit. Instead, though, I was meeting with our employees. Of course, I'm the Chief People Officer at Visa, amongst other things. I am also have the honor to be the chair of Visa's foundation. And I oversee our inclusive impact work around the world. And in that role, I get amazing opportunities. And what we do at Visa is we partner with different organizations. In this case, I met with United Way. And one of the programs that we have originated with United Way of Mumbai is focusing on women entrepreneurs. And we've invested together and created a wonderful program that reaches out to women in this country to find out what their opportunities are, where they would like to work. And we together provide training and the tools to bring women entrepreneurs into the digital economy and be able to facilitate their businesses. And we find, and what I learned in that meeting was the women that we have helped, and it's more than 10,000 women so far, and we just begun this program. What happens is they start to enter the workforce, they start to earn money, they earn real revenue. Then they start to hire other women in their businesses. They make sure their children are getting better educated and build the communities together. This is the best part of my job by far.
This is interesting because for most of us, Visa is all about a credit card, a debit card, but you're actually talking about things which many of us didn't know that Visa had an interest in.
Yeah. And Visa is so much more than a credit card. Yes, it began as a credit card, but so much innovation has happened in this space that's been incredible. We see it here in India, obviously with UPI and real-time payment networks and the amazing work that's been done with the India stack. Payments are all about innovation. I like to tell a story that when I was 15 years old, I had my first experience with payments. I had an after-school job. I'd go across the street and I was in a candy store. Sold candy. A lot of it was with cash back then. I'm not going to tell you how long ago that was, but it was some time. But we were actually taking payment in cards back then. It was fairly new. And if somebody came in with a card, what I had to do as a 15-year-old was go under the desk, pull up this big book. Think about a telephone book with all of these numbers in it. So you would go in the book, look for the number to see if that card it's a suspect of fraud. And if the number was in there, I couldn't accept the payment. So I would do that. And it's kind of funny, though. You think about 15-year-old me being like the keeper of fraud. I'm making sure nothing's going wrong on the payments network. I don't know if that's a good idea, but that's how it worked. And then I would pull out this other machine and I would imprint that card. Remember that? You'd swipe it, scrape your knuckles along the way. Then you take a piece of paper and you would put it into the cash register almost like cash. So that was what I experienced, my first experience with payments early on. Think of where we've gotten today with so much of the experience with payments is digital. It's on the phone. It's on a mobile device. It's with a QR code, which you see here in India. And I had the great pleasure when I was in Mumbai of actually going out to shop. Yeah, I like to shop. Everywhere I go in the world, I like to experience our products. So there's nothing like getting out there and seeing what a consumer and a merchant experiences with your product so that when you go home, you think about that. And I saw it in the marketplace here.
Did you experience the sound box? And what do you make of it?
It was fascinating to me because I'd heard about Soundbox and obviously I'd heard about the QR code. And when I was here last, I saw some of it. And when I was here before the pandemic, obviously it was beginning. But to actually see it in action at a small merchant and to see how easy it was to use the QR code and then to have the Soundbox communicate to the gentleman who was operating the kiosk to say the transaction had gone through. So he didn't have to stop what he was doing. He could listen and know, and how easy it was just with the QR code. Amazing technology, amazing developments. It was really fascinating to me.
I know everyone talks about, the growth of fintech, the India stack, probably exporting the India stack to other countries. But if I step back, India still is a $1 trillion cash economy. Now, how can Visa help facilitate digitizing all that cash?
So it seems like about half the payments now are remaining cash. It's been a great journey, a huge acceleration of bringing people into the digital economy. Financial inclusion is amazing in this country. The way we think about that is that's wonderful. Get people into the digital economy, start using electronic payments is very good. But there's a journey beyond that. Once you get them into digital commerce, then you want to accelerate their growth and continue their empowerment through products that we might be able to provide, lines of credit, other ways for them to grow in what they're doing. So that's one thing certainly that we think about is being a partner there. And then it is going after the cash that remains out there and being a partner to the government to make sure that we get as many people into the digital economy as we possibly can, because we believe financial inclusion is so important to economic growth for the individual and for the country.
And even for Visa, India is a very big innovation hub, not just for India, but even for the world.
Yeah.
Tell us what's happening in Bangalore.
Absolutely.
Or Bengaluru in the Bengaluru campus.
Bengaluru. And again, I was there last year. I'm so proud. Last year in that campus, we had 3,000 people, engineers, technologists developing innovation for the world from Bengaluru. This year, we have 4,000 people. Tremendous growth, amazing people. I love them. A lot of amazing women in our workforce in Bengaluru. I'm really proud. But they develop great innovation there that we transport around the world. You and I were talking about one of the products recently that they've developed, and it's about a flexible product. And this was in cooperation and partnership with a Japanese client who they felt their consumers wanted choice. They wanted to have one product, but they could toggle back and forth between credit or debit, or maybe buy now, pay later, other ways of paying, but they wanted it on one product. Innovation that was developed in Bengaluru that we now have actually introduced in Japan. We've introduced in the United States and we'll take to other places around the world. Our innovation hub here is a really important tech hub for us around the world.
So you mean to say that there are now cards where the consumer actually decides when he or she is making a transaction whether to use it as a debit card or use the same card as a credit card?
Right. The same product, whether it's on your phone or on a physical card. But imagine you're going shopping and today you want to buy a soda. I had to say that. A soda. And you want to use your debit card for that. It's not an expensive product. But tomorrow you want to go and buy a cashmere wrap. And that costs more money. So you want to actually use your credit product for that. Instead of having to choose between different products, you can just press a button if it's on your device and choose which of those sources of funds you'd like to choose. It's just a great example of the innovation that's coming out of our tech hub here. Mm-hmm. Consumer choice. It's all about consumer choice.
That gives me the cue to ask you that in India, we have a very large cohort who are coming into the credit system for the first time. Now, we've seen how buy now, pay later, BNPL, has exploded around the world, including India. Now, on one side, we have this exponential growth, but on the other side, the regulators, central banks around the world, are a little skeptical about this growth without proper guardrails. So how do you balance risk and innovation.
Right. So, I think with any new product, the regulators will look at it and make sure that it's safe and fit for purpose. And we love that consumers can have choice amongst the products that I talked about, including buy now, pay later. But when it comes to regulatory environment, I think that we and government all have the same ultimate objective.
Mhm.
Whatever the method of payment is, we all want that method of payment to be fast, to be secure, to be easy to use for our consumers and for our merchants all around the world. Same objective. So we understand and we partner closely on all regulation, everything that comes out.
On the other side of the spectrum is this huge world of remittances. We have global Indian workforce. They are working all over the world, but they need to send money home. It needs to be safe, secure, and fast. Now, where does Visa come in vis-a-vis building the safe rail infrastructure, if I can draw a parallel?
There's so many things that we're developing outside of what you think is your typical consumer to merchant payment. And remittances is certainly one of those. B2B, business cards, et cetera. Lots of opportunity for us. When it comes to remittances, like you said, very important to India. There's a lot of remittances coming into this country and going out. And the most important thing about remittances is that they are safe and secure and fast and get to where they need to go. We have a product that we've developed called Visa Direct. And Visa Direct can send money between an account to a card, different ways of sending money on another payment network. Visa Direct is agnostic, but can make sure that the money gets to where it needs to go safely and securely, whether that's within India, in and out of India for sure. I'm sure many of you, like me, I have a son in college, and I feel like every day he calls me and asks me for more money. Maybe every other day, but it's a common question. Mom, something else I want to buy. Can you send? And I make sure I give it to him measured amounts because God knows what he would do if I gave him too much money at once. So I'm regularly sending him money. Visa Direct is a great way to do that.
You talked about your experience as a 15-year-old girl and, when you were managing the counter and you would take out this massive telephone directory kind of a book. And the whole purpose was fraud or to actually curb that. Now, it's data security or security of financial services or transactions becoming far more important, and it gets a whole new dimension in the digital world. The crimes are getting sophisticated. The actors are getting sophisticated. How do companies like Visa deal with this?
The Visa brand stands for, first and foremost, trust. You know that the money is going to be safe and secure and get to where you want it to go. And the merchant can receive the money safely and securely and know that he's going to get it. It's hugely important to us. And a big part of that is cybersecurity and fraud detection now. We invest billions and billions of dollars to fight the bad guys, as you talked about, and they're getting more and more of them. They're getting more and more sophisticated. And that's what we devote ourselves to make sure that we actually develop a way of detection that prevents that from happening to people around the world. I was just telling the story about the newest round of fraud attacks that we're seeing in the United States right now is back to school time. And so moms are getting messages and calls and being asked to actually fund school supplies. It's the teacher calling and saying, Bobby needs this much in supplies. You need to send the money here right now. And moms, we feel very guilty about all these things. And we quickly react and say, oh, the teacher needs the money. I'm going to get the money there. It's fraud. And so at Visa, we invest in tools to detect that fraud, to prevent that fraud. In fact, in the last year, we detected $40 billion worth of fraud amongst our bank clients and prevented that from happening in the ecosystem through the technology and tools that we have.
$40 billion.
$40 billion worth of fraud avoided.
Wow. And, what you're saying is very interesting because that's exactly what's happening in India as well. I mean, those calls that mothers or moms are getting, it's the same thing that's happening. So, I mean, every day, and senior citizens, they are also very, very vulnerable.
And Visa is a global network. So through our data, we see these things happening and we can act on them and prevent them from happening. I think another important part of this too is you have more Indian consumers coming into the digital payments world and digital economy. It's a wonderful thing to be in there, but the other thing is to make sure that you're very included. So we really do focus on education as well as our tools and technology that avoids the fraud, but making sure that we educate consumers on the right way to use the products and avoid that fraud from happening. I love what the RBI did here in India, mandated tokenization for card not present, as we call them, transactions. Visa was right there as a partner and made sure that we had the vast majority of cards that were not present tokenized as quickly as possible. And I'm really proud of that. It's a great example of public-private partnership and regulation that, again, is about achieving the same objective, safe and secure transactions, number one.
Yeah. And it's not just senior citizens or mothers or who are vulnerable. Other segment are this huge ecosystem of small and medium enterprises. Their needs are unique. They're not as sophisticated as large corporations in terms of building these guardrails. Visa, I believe, has a very extensive program or products catered for the small and medium industries.
Absolutely.
And entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. And 70% of the world's businesses are small businesses. And they employ about 50% of the people. They're a huge part of the global economy. So of course, as a payment network, we're going to focus on enabling small businesses to thrive. And so we create products specifically for them that meet them where they are so that it helps them grow their businesses. If a small business has a business card with us, they may not want to have travel rewards or access to a lounge or cinema tickets. They may need things like access to insurance for their business or for their employees. That's the type of thing that our small business products can provide, but they're very tailored depending on where we are, what the market need is. That's how we innovate and create.
Or maybe cloud solutions or any other.
Or cloud solutions, or they want to now sell their products on the internet. How do they get onto the internet? How do they achieve a gateway and cloud services? We can provide those services as well.
And you talked about innovation. We talked about how you're working with different stakeholders. Overall for Visa is present, across the world. I want to end this conversation by asking you, in the overall Visa ecosystem, where is India today? Is it just a hub for innovation, for human capital, or it's far more strategic?
It's far more strategic for us. We've been in India for 40 years. We want to be here for another 100 years. We want to innovate and grow the payment system together with the government of India for the very long time. And we love the innovation that comes here. We have a lot of fintech partners. We love how creative and innovative India is. And we can work together to create new products that'll make payment systems better, not only here in India, but all around the world.
It's truly fascinating to learn that, from Bangalore, there are products for Japan, for probably even Brazil, where you're
all over the world.
All over the world. Kelly, truly, it was, an eye-opener for me. I'm sure even for the audience to learn that it's not just about credit or debit. These form factors don't matter anymore. It's a seamless digital world, payments, and Visa is here for this new paradigm.
We're thrilled to be here. Uplift everyone everywhere by being the best way to pay and be paid. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.